And we are live. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We had a debate last night. What'd you folks think? Good? I enjoyed it. Let's dig into it. Let's break it down. Fill your cups, grab a pen and paper. Let's talk about this. We've got some big world news to talk about too. Let's do this. Morning. Hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. So we had a debate last night, and going into it, I knew it was going to be exactly what it was. The writing was on the wall. I put this post up about the debate. CBS, they negotiated this out last week. CBS announced that they would not be doing any fact checking at all during the debate. And when they announced that, I knew that this is what we were going to get. It's just the Republican fire hose of bullshit. I mean, if you tell anyone in the Republican Party ahead of time that you can say anything you want to say and nobody's going to fact check you, that your opponent's going to have to fact check you, they're just going to lie their asses off. And they're really good at it. Don't get me wrong. J.D. Vance did an outstanding job of doing what he intended to do last night. Unfortunately, it didn't help him much. And he actually did more harm than good, but he absolutely fulfilled his strategy. And his strategy last night was to try to mainstream some of the radical things that they said. Susan McIntosh says, I thought Walz did fine. Was surprised at news media comments. Yeah, great comment there. And thank you for the support. I appreciate you. Now that you bring up the news media, I'll just pop this interesting little thing in here. This is from the New York Times. Vance's dominant debate performance shows why he's Trump's running mate. Okay. Here's a little interesting factoid about this article. They was pretty much, dishonest, not just because, it's not true. J.D. Vance didn't dominate anything last night, but they actually released that article. Justin Barragona here posted this on X. He found it and then people started actually digging into it. And yeah, turns out, they released this article halfway through the debate, before the debate was even finished. They released this article. They had an article written. People went and took a look at the URL, the link to that article. It was created 5 days ago. So that should give you some idea what to expect from the media regarding this debate. Asborn Newton, exactly. J.D. Vance showed he was an eloquent snacko salesman. So here's the thing, folks. I have made this argument for a long time. I've made this argument for a very long time. Sir Pup Jones says, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'll be voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Good to see it. Love you. I've made this argument over and over and over again. I've made this to people within the administration. I've made this to every candidate I've ever talked to that's a Democrat running for office. You cannot do what the campaign decided was Tim Walz's strategy last night. And Tim Walz did an amazing job of fulfilling his strategy. He did. The problem is what the campaign asked him to do. That was the failure. You've heard me say this before. When you fight Republicans, you have to punch them in the face. You do, because they're swinging at you. J.D. Vance came out last night and lied his ever-loving ass off. He lied about Kamala Harris's record. He lied about Donald Trump's record. He lied about the economy. We're going to go through a few points that he brought up that seem to have incredibly important points that seem to have escaped, the professionals in the news media. But we cannot just gloss over the fact that we Democrats last night did again exactly what I have been begging every Democrat that I've ever come into contact with not to ever do. See, Tim Walz was given the task of selling that we're the normal people. We're the grown-ups in the room. That was his task last night. If you noticed his responses, they're factually correct. He did not punch J.D. Vance in the face at all. I mean, he took one swing at him. This was the one swing that he took at J.D. Vance. And rightfully so, everybody loves this. I mean, this is the point that's going to be played. This is where most people are saying, look, Tim Walz won this debate.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020.
Okay. That was it. That was as rough and tumble as it got. And that's a problem, folks. I want you to think about everything you love about Tim Walz. What have we seen for the last several weeks from Tim Walz? He's been punching Donald Trump right in the face. For weeks, he's been punching Donald Trump right in the face. What did you want to see out of this debate? You wanted to see Tim Walz get up there and say again what we've been seeing him say. Instead, the campaign, and this was not on Tim Walz. This was not on Tim Walz. Folks, when Tim Walz is just allowed to be Tim Walz, we got what we've gotten for the last several weeks. This was debate strategy put together by the campaign because for some reason, Democrats have this ingrained thing that we need to reach out to this non-existent Republican voter to prove that we're the normal ones. We can govern. Folks, our track record shows that we're the normal ones. Our track record shows that we can govern. We don't have to prove that. When J.D. Vance is sitting there lying his ever-loving ass off about Kamala Harris, her policies, immigrants, every damn topic that came up, he lied. Literally. I was trying to do tick marks on how many lies he told. I couldn't keep up. I lost track. And I didn't want to go back and rewatch the whole damn debate again. I lost track. I couldn't do the tick marks fast enough and pay attention to what he was saying. But Tim Walz was given the job of saying, but let me tell you about my policies. I don't know how many times I've told you people this. I've told everyone in the Democratic Party. There is no Republican sitting there saying, I wonder what those Democrats have to say. I should go find old Tim Walz and listen to what he thinks. There is not one anywhere. Anywhere. The inroads that we've made into the Republican Party have been through one strategy and one strategy only. It has been kicking the shit out of Donald Trump. And that has made Republicans, many Republicans, stop and say, you know what? Yeah, they're weird. This is weird. God, Donald Trump is gross. Donald Trump has a problem. You know what didn't come up in the debate last night? Ukraine. Not one question on Ukraine. You know what else didn't come up in the debate last night? This happened before the debate. This should have been a focus of the debate. I have played for you before the tape of Mark Esper of Donald Trump talking about ordering Americans to be shot. I have played that before. Not only do Republicans not argue with me, Republicans 100% love it. So much so that this is what Trump is telling them now.
You know, if you had one day, like one real rough, nasty day with the drugstores as an example, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, it's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately.
Trump's answer for crime is the purge. I love you people so much. I do. I love you people so much. Trump is, and this isn't the only time he said it. This is his new stump thing. Yes, the purge. Donald Trump is a candidate for president of the United States who is going around to his audience and repeatedly telling them what we need, and I will do this, and I'll put people in charge in your area that will do this, is we just need everybody in law enforcement and the military to just be really violent, just really over the top violent so that we scare everybody. But let me tell you about my policies. Look, Tim Walz did a great job last night. He really did. He did what he was sent out there to do. He did an amazing job of what he was sent out there to do. And he offended no one. He didn't lose a single voter. And J.D. Vance handed him the debate. If you look at the post, you know, they're like right at a tie. Everybody says, well, it's a tie. J.D. Vance, 42-41, 50-50. Everybody says it was a tie. But that's not where debate end and debate coverage ends. There's always that 24-hour marinating period. By this afternoon, the debate will be gone. But in that 24-hour marinating period, because J.D. Vance is J.D. Vance, he lost. Because the coverage is very clear. Wow, J.D. Vance did a really great job of lying his ever-loving ass off last night. So yeah, Walz actually won that debate. but it could have been better if you'd have just let Tim Walz be Tim Walz. He would have kicked the ever-loving shit out of J.D. Vance. And that's what we all really wanted to see. Let's be honest. We wanted to see Tim Walz from the last couple of weeks and the Tim Walz we're going to see over the next couple of weeks. That's what we wanted in the debate. But we really couldn't have that because CBS said, we're not going to fact check. In fact, the one time they did fact check, J.D. Vance lost his mind. This is, again, how you know Tim Walz won this. This is one of the major clips that's going around, is this exchange right here.
And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well,
Nora?
Margaret, but
Thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's
Nora.
important
We're
because
gonna turn out of the
debate-
economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that
The
you guys
economy-
weren't going to
we're-
fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's the rules were that
The
you guys weren't
economy-
going to
we're-
fact check, and since
Yeah. That was, CBS was the biggest loser last night. That was not a debate. It wasn't a debate. It served the American people in no way. It didn't. It really didn't. We were lucky that J.D. Vance lied as badly as he lied. And he also, and here's the thing, I've got a couple points that were just mind-blowing, just set me on fire last night. I was screaming at the television about this. I posted about it as I was doing my debate coverage on Threads and X. But yeah, just a couple major points that I really, really, really want to talk about that are super, super important. We're not going to let these just gloss by. First of all, blame the immigrants. He blamed immigrants for everything. He blamed immigrants for the cost of housing. Yeah. That was part of where he was getting fact-checked as he was on his tirade about immigrants. And he blamed immigrants for everything, including his erectile dysfunction. J.D. Vance told, and his people are repeating, that the reason housing is so expensive is because of immigrants. No, it's not even close to true. Not even close. Let me tell you something. It's about 5 years. When somebody immigrates to this country, it's about 5 years before an immigrant buys a home. They rent. You know what's driving home prices up? Wall Street has figured out that you can't lose money on homes. And if they invest a few $1 billion into buying up all the inventory out there, convert them into things like Airbnbs or rent them out, that you will drive the price of homes up and they will double their money. They will triple their money. There are housing markets that have gone up well over 100% since billionaires who had money laying around because they don't pay taxes decided we're going to buy up all the home inventories. Yeah. That's why your home prices are sky freaking high. Because guys like J.D. Vance, your vulture capitalists, your Mitt Romneys, those kind of people, they slowed the renewal of Detroit. You know, Detroit's back on its feet, folks. Detroit is back. But billionaires went in and bought dilapidated old homes in Detroit neighborhoods that were sitting empty. And intentionally, get this, did nothing with them, intentionally let them degrade because their value condemned was worth more than what they paid for the homes. They were paying pennies on the dollar for homes in Detroit. When people needed homes, there were people moving into these neighborhoods and renewing these homes. But Johnny Gotrocks, the billionaire frat boy member of the billionaire frat boy club that donates to the Republican Party, came in and bought just a crap load of homes and let them sit because he didn't have to invest anything into them. The city was doing tax abatements because they were trying desperately to renew these neighborhoods. And they just sat until they were condemned and they made a windfall. That really happened, folks. That really happened. That was one of the major problems Detroit faced. But that wasn't the only whopper he told about immigrants. Did you know that Mexican cartels are sending illegal guns across the southern border? Oh my God, the immigrants. Yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie. It's 100% the opposite of reality. 100% the opposite of reality. The Mexicans call the flow of guns out of Texas and Arizona the Iron River. The guns go the other direction. Let me say it again. The guns go from Texas to Mexico, to Venezuela, to Central America, to South America, into Colombia. It's something on the order of 80 to 90% of the guns recovered every time there's a violent crime, they trace back to a Texas or Arizona gun store. It's not immigrants importing guns. Why would you import guns into the U.S.? They're cheaper here, and you can buy them at a gun store. This is just one article that talks about the flow of guns down to Mexico. You can't get this data from the ATF. You can't get this data from the ATF because of a Republican by the name of Todd Tiahrt. It was called the Tiahrt Amendment. Back in 2003, the Republicans passed a law said the ATF cannot share any data on guns to protect gun dealers, to protect gun shops. Folks, this is how the guns are getting south. You had Craig Adlong. He's a Texan by the name of Craig Adlong. He went to one of the big box, one of the gun stores here in Texas, bought 95 Romanian AK-47s. $95 of them. This is a Romanian AK-47. He bought 95 of these. How many of those that Craig Adlong bought do you think were picked up after gunfights with cartels by the Mexican military? If you had to guess, out of the 95, how many, wild guess, from this one sale? 66. That's right. I love you people for being so informed. I love you. 66 of the 95 were picked up, have already been picked up. Mr. Newton, I love you, man. I love you. I really do. I love how informed you folks are. It was 66 of the 95. The rest are still in the hands of the cartel. How long do you think Adlong spent in jail for this? Again, wild guess. How long do you think he spent in jail? Keeping in mind that these guns were picked up in the commission of crime, violent crimes in Mexico, picked up out of the dead hands of cartel members. Zero's wrong. I'll tell you that. Zero's wrong. 6 months. He did 6 months. He did 6 months. That was it. 6 months. And when called about it from the folks that were, let me bring the article back up for you. When called about USA Today about this, he's like, man, why are you even asking me this? I did my time. I moved on with my life. Like J.D. Vance says, I'm looking to the future. But he's not the only one. He's not. By damn sight, he's not even close to the only one. And I don't have a picture of Mr. Adlong because for some reason, these people are impossible to find images of. Even though they're in federal prisons, when you look up the information, I talked to a criminal, before I came on this show, I talked to a criminal investigator and I said, find me an image of Khalid Abdulaziz. I want you to see this guy. I want you to look at his face and say, this human being is doing this in Texas. Khalid Abdulaziz ran one of those really protected gun shops in Pearland, Texas. If you don't know where Pearland is, it's right outside Houston. He's on the Mexican government's radar. Khalid Abdulaziz is doing 10 years in prison. Can't find a picture of him. Criminal investigator, there's you know those pictures where you see just the shape of a human being? His federal file has that picture. I defy you. Now, if you Google Khalid Abdulaziz, you'll find a professor, you'll find a graphic artist, you'll find all kinds of, people. It's a very common name, but you will not find this Khalid Abdulaziz anywhere. What did Khalid Abdulaziz do? He sold these. This is what they picked up in Mexico. Barrett, 50 calibers. And a lot of other weapons. This is Barrett 50 caliber. Also known as the M107. Cannot get the booking photo. No, I can't. It's not out there. You can't find it either. He set up one of those protected gun shops here in the Texas. It was in his home. It wasn't even like a store you could go to. It was in his home. And he's selling Barrett 50 calibers to the Mexican drug cartels. Fortunately, like I said, he's doing 10 years because his entire network was huge. But they only tracked back. Let me give you an idea of what small potatoes Abdulaziz was. This was his straw purchasers network. He had Uriel Patino, can't find him. Sean Stewart, Craig Adlong, we talked about him and his Romanian AK-47s. Deborah Foote, Mackenzie Thompson, Carlos Celaya, and Michael Mummert were all of his group that would go in and they would put the paper, straw purchases. They would put the guns in their name, and then they would take them and they would sell them in Mexico. Zeroed in Armory was responsible for 75 of the guns. Each one of these blocks is 10 guns. 70 from 20 to 2022 guns that the Mexican military recovered in crimes from cartels. This is where they came from. Academy, sports and outdoors. Apparently, there's several academies on the border, in border towns, that are just a flow of illegal guns to cartels. No, it's not immigrants. It's not immigrants. Cabela's, another one. But Zeroed In Armory was a huge one out of Pearland. Ammo A to Z, LLC, that's in Arizona, 46 guns. The Gun Zone, 39 guns. Yeah, it's not immigrants, folks. It's Americans. It's Americans. Abdul Aziz, the Barrett 50 calibers they recovered were sold to an unemployed American who had no job, who then turned around and sold them for thousands to the cartels. And folks, let me tell you something. This is not the tip of the iceberg. Not the tip. Because let me tell you something. Every month, right here, just down the road from my house in Longview, Texas, there's a gun show. And in that gun show, there's multiple vendors that sell AK-47s. They sell Barrett 50 calibers. These weapons of choice for the cartels. By the way, a Barrett 50 caliber, there's no such thing as a bulletproof vest. A Barrett 50 caliber hits your bulletproof vest, it rips your body in half. But in Tyler, Texas, folks, this is what I'm telling you. I want to be very clear about this because this is a point that is just absolutely being glossed over by the corporate media. JD Vance, immigrants are importing guns over the immigrants. Oh, no, buddy. It's your hillbilly neighbor. Folks, they track these all the way up to Wisconsin. Every little town near you has a gun show where these guns, I promise you, the best gun runners are not going to Academy and saying, can I get 100 AK-47s, please? No. They drive from gun show to gun show to gun show to gun show. They buy from individuals. Here in the state of Texas, you can buy a gun easier than you can buy a car. There's less paperwork for you to buy a gun than there is for you to buy a car. You can just drive from town to town to town to town and build you any arsenal you want, and nobody will track those guns anywhere. And there are people that make a living. It's not about taking your guns, people. It's not. Billy Bob, nobody cares. Billy Bob, nobody cares. Nobody cares like AK-47 in that cabinet. Nobody gives a shit at all. Nobody. Billy Bob, nobody cares. It's the fact that these criminal organizations are using straw purchases to arm themselves. We are a free supermarket of guns, man. Unregulated. Khalid Abdulaziz is Saudi. His father is an international gun runner. And the ATF cannot share information on him because of the Republicans, because got to protect the gun shops. Nobody cares about the gun shops. Nobody. And so what does JD Vance say? It's immigrants. It's immigrants. Why? Why does he say that? This is why. This is why. Last Sunday, we had an election in Austria. My European audience can confirm this for you. The Nazis won the election in Austria. The ironically named Freedom Party, the fascists, A guy named Herbert Kickle. He's a Nazi. They won the election. How did they win? How did they win? The exact same rhetoric. If you want to know what Herbert Kickle did and said, you don't have to go try to learn Austrian. Just go to Greg Abbott's Twitter feed and read what Greg Abbott says every day. Because that is the exact same rhetoric that Herbert Kickle just used to win the election in Austria. Immigrant gangs are committing crime. Immigrants are flooding our nation. Immigrants are destroying our Austrian identity. They're human trafficking. You want to know the reality? And it's been a sustained call. And yes, it comes from Putin. The bots, the paid click farms have all been pushing this narrative so that it is reality to these people in their minds. It is their reality now. It is their reality. So much so that it's affecting policy. In Germany and Austria, they're now deporting people for any minor offenses. They're deporting people. Got to get the immigrants out, man. Got it. It's mass crime. You want to know the reality? And again, we have a European audience. Ask them this. Do you know two of the safest places on earth? On earth. Austria and Denmark. And in the last two elections, you had Geert Wilders sweep to victory. Pardon me, the Netherlands. I said Denmark. My bad. Austria and the Netherlands. You had Geert Wilders in the Netherlands sweep his party. His insane right-wing fascist party swept to victory. Why? The immigrants are coming. One of the safest countries on earth. Austria is one of the safest countries on earth. That's reality. That's reality. So almost no violent crime. That's why J.D. Vance says that. That's why J.D. Vance says that. And how many MAGA freaks do you see online that just repeat it? Crime in the U.S. is at an all-time low. It's at historically low levels. But we're suffering an invasion. They're bringing guns across the border when we're really just drowning Mexico, drowning Central America, so much so that it's causing a diplomatic crisis. We're drowning them in our guns. But, the Republicans, you can't track, those gun sales. Sure, Khalid Abdulaziz did $1 million in cash sales that they can't track. But, your local gun shop might be uncomfortable. The guy that sells you your hunting rifle. I mean, for Christ's sake, people, just, that was the point of this debate. That was J.D. Vance's job, was to make it sound slick, to make it sound real, because the bigots out there are sitting there, man. They're sitting there with their pen and paper. Tell me why I hate the Democrats. Because I'm a bigot and I want to be a bigot, but I need a good reason. You punch those people in the face. Another one, huge lie. Huge. Did you know that Donald Trump saved Obamacare? Did you know that Donald Trump saved Obamacare. He said that last night. He said that. And it just blew by like a fart in a hurricane. I'm sorry, folks. You remember John McCain. You remember that moment. Do you know why John McCain had that moment? Remember? That dramatic walk across the floor with him and Mitch McConnell, and Mitch McConnell's walking there. I got my votes. We're going to kill it. We got it. We got it. Come on, John. Last one. And John McCain walks up by the days. You remember that moment? Yeah, J.D. Vance said last night, Donald Trump saved Obamacare. And it just, whew. Well, we can't fact check. We can't do that. It would be unfair. Because, Republicans can't talk if they can't lie. And that wasn't the scariest of what he talked about. It really wasn't. When the subject of healthcare came up, I'm rarely at a loss for words, but I just sat there with what I was hearing blow by. Again, this was a failure in strategy by the Democrats. They should have cut Tim Walz loose. They should have. He did a great job doing what he, don't get me wrong. I'm not bitching about Tim Walz. He did a great job doing what he did, which was, and it worked to a degree. There was a lot of people that were like, yeah, Tim Walz didn't lie at all. And I liked him. He was like Coach Walz. I liked that. So yeah, he accomplished that. He really did. But you know what just blew by? J.D. Vance told us what their healthcare policy would be. He told us what their policy would be. They think it's a problem. There are just too many sick people. There are just too many sick people. Chronically ill people make health insurance expensive. Do you remember him talking about this? Chronically ill people just make healthcare expensive. They're a burden on local government. So what we need to do is take those chronically ill, people with things like cancer, and we need to take those out of the health insurance pools, and your health insurance will get cheaper. Yeah, it'll get cheaper. Are you following me here? Do you know how insurance works? The point of insurance? We all buy into it, healthy or sick, so that when somebody gets cancer, they're not bankrupted. Their life isn't decimated. We all absorb the cost of that, spread out among healthy people. That was the whole point of the mandate in Obamacare, was that too many healthy people don't buy health insurance. They want to do that as a policy. They want to take the chronically ill and they want to shove them onto government programs and take that way. Insurance companies can make a boatload of money. If you don't have sick people, man, all you got is premiums. Way to go. Yay. The guy that writes me my checks as a Republican is going to make a lot of money doing that. And your city and your state and your federal government is going to go broke because they're not going to fund it. They're not. Can you just for a moment imagine the level of care? How many hospitals are going to close? If you take the sickest among us, the chronically ill people, again, I will go back to cancer. Because once you have cancer, there's a good chance you're going to have it again. Can you imagine what that's going to do to your local budgets? If you distill the people with the highest medical bills into one pool? And he flat out told us last night, that's their policy. He said it. We need to let have the flexibility to separate out the chronically ill. That's what's making your health insurance so expensive. Sick people. And it's just, have you heard anyone, seen anyone talk about it anywhere? That's what CBS did to us. When you tell them you're not going to fact check, they will just a fire hose of bullshit. And that's what JD Vance did last night. And I got to tell you, his people love it, man. They love it. They just love it. JD Vance talking about economics was another one that just, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. I want you to listen to what this is making the rounds on the right wing. They're calling this a win. They love this on the right wing that JD Vance said this. You people are smart. This is going to set your hair on fire.
We're just asking for fairness in it, and that's all you want.
You have a minute.
Governor, you say trust the experts, but those same experts for 40 years said that if we shipped our manufacturing base off to China, we'd get cheaper goods. They lied about that. They said if we shipped our industrial base off to other countries, to Mexico and elsewhere, it would make the middle class stronger. They were wrong about that. They were wrong about the idea.
Show me the expert that ever said that anywhere. No, everybody railed about losing jobs. You know who thought this was a good idea? Corporations. Cheap labor. They manipulated trade laws so that they could do it, and they shipped jobs overseas. They outsourced jobs. Corporations, the people that write the checks to the Republican Party. That's what projection is, people. When you accuse others of what you are guilty of, that's projection. When you hear people talk about projection, that's what that is. He literally just described what the Republicans did all through the 1980s, the 1990s, 2000s. It was literally the cornerstone of their policy. It was everything. I love you, folks. I just saw the Ronald Reagan comment. Yeah, it was literally Ronald Reagan's, the cornerstone of his economic policy. There were no experts. There were corporate executives that wanted the cheap labor, and then there were Republicans they were writing checks to. There were no experts saying that.
The idea that if we made America less self-reliant, less productive in our own nation, that it would somehow make us better off, and they were wrong about it. And for the first time in a generation, Donald Trump had the wisdom and the courage to say to that bipartisan consensus, we're not doing it anymore. We're bringing America.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Donald Trump told those exact same people that ship those jobs overseas, give me $1 billion and I'll let you do what you want. You saw the video. That's exactly what he said. Give me $1 billion. I'll pass you some tax cuts and I'll let you do whatever you want.
American manufacturing back. We're unleashing American energy. We're going to make more of our own stuff. And this isn't just an economic issue. And I've got three.
Who's we? Who's we? I know we Democrats are doing that. You know, the CHIP Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, all those things that are helping bring jobs back to the United States, the massive numbers of jobs that we're bringing in because people who thought they were brilliant and would ship their jobs overseas suddenly saw their businesses shut down because they couldn't ship anything. They couldn't manufacture anything. Remember COVID? Remember not getting any products? Well, guess what? The executives remember that too. And they thought, you know what? We went too far. We went too far. I can't. I got no cars to sell. I can't. I'm broke. I'm ruined. So they said, yeah, we should bring some manufacturing back home. We really should. We should do that. Yeah, that's what did that. And the Democrats were very glad to say, you know what? How can I help? How can I help? You want to build fabs? Fabs are chip factories. You want to build fabs back here? How can I help you do that? Republicans didn't do shit but fight us on all of it. They voted against the CHIP Act. This man voted against the CHIP Act.
3 beautiful little kids at home, 7, 4, and 2. And I love them very much, and I hope they're in bed right now. But look, so many of the drugs, the pharmaceuticals that we put in the bodies of our children are manufactured by nations that hate us. This has to stop. And we're not going to stop it by listening to experts. We're going to stop it by listening to common sense wisdom, which is what Donald Trump governed on.
We're
Okay.
just asking.
Well, first of all, yeah, way too many of our pharmaceuticals are manufactured overseas. That is, again, your corporate donors that do that in big pharma. But I just want to clarify something about, China, India. These are the major manufacturers of our pharmaceuticals. They don't hate us. Yeah, I know they sell that shit to try to motivate people. China doesn't hate us. They don't. China wants to do well for China. They do. They don't have our best interests at heart. But if they can sell us something and make money off of it, that's all they care about. It's the same thing I talk about with like big oil. People are like, big oil's evil. I mean, no, they just make money the way they make money. And that's what they want to do. And anything you say that's not about them making money, they don't want to hear it. It's the same thing with China. There's no emotional thing they're tied to it. China doesn't hate us. They don't. We're one of their best customers. That's just a fact. This hyperbole is nonsense. I don't want to get sidetracked on that, but the hyperbole is just nonsense. Nonsense here. The two other things that he did that I don't have clips for you for, but are very important. First of all, he defended tariffs. He defended tariffs greatly. Talked about how great tariffs are. Tariffs are horrible. Tariffs are horrific. Tariffs are bad. Very bad. I'll say it again. If you are implementing tariffs, everything else has failed. Everything has failed. The right wing have a catchphrase that they love to use when we tell them, because Donald Trump's out there bragging about tariffs, which are horrific. And when you say, no, tariffs are horrific, they throw at you their pre-programmed response. The dumbass hillbilly chick that, smokes 3 packs a day, has, a brown tooth up front. And yeah, she's suddenly an economic expert that says, well, if tariffs are bad, why didn't Biden repeal Trump's tariffs? They were good. You say the economy's good. Trump did that with his tariffs. No. Tariffs are horrific. And the fact that those tariffs haven't been repealed are testimony to how bad they are. Francis Rinaldi, I'm waiting for someone to ask pachyderms, what did they ever do for the working families? No kidding. I mean, you'd have thought that line would have come up. ET says, y'all, it is less than 5 weeks until the general election. Make sure your voter registration deadline. Thank you, ET, for the daily reminder. Make sure when your early voting starts and stops, Texas is October 21st, folks. Just 3 weeks away. Make sure to go and vote. Please do. But there's a reason that Trump's tariffs haven't been repealed, and it is testimony to why they are so bad. Do you know what happens when you put a tariff on, pick a country, any country, if we get into a trade dispute with them, say Germany. Germany has several big car brands. Volkswagen's one of the biggest in the world. Say Germany. If we put a tariff on their products, what does Germany do in response? Bingo. Retaliation. Tariffs are an act of trade war. They don't just say, oh, I see your point now. Go ahead and just repeal that tariff and we'll stop doing what we're doing. No. They put retaliatory tariffs on our goods. So you know what you can't do going down the road is just repeal a tariff, because the retaliatory tariffs are still there. These things have to be negotiated off the books, and they're incredibly complex because these negotiations end up being about 10,000 different things. And what ends up happening with these tariffs is they just stay. They just stay. And it ends up being a tax on you forever. Because they are so hard to negotiate off the books once they're there. It's one of the reasons tariffs are so bad. It's one of the reasons that drug us into the Great Depression. And why it was so hard to get us back out. But J.D. Vance last night, tariffs are good. Tariffs are a good thing. Why? Because Donald Trump's saying it. Well, you said Donald Trump was Hitler. Yeah, but not anymore. I was wrong. The media bamboozled me. That was literally his response as to why he doesn't still say the same shit about Donald Trump that he used to say. The media bamboozled me. I was wrong about Donald Trump. Folks, it's insanity. It's just insanity. But yeah, Tim Walz did a great job doing what he was sent to do. I would have liked it more if they would have just let Tim Walz be Tim Walz. There was so much that they should have just been punching Donald Trump in the face for that just didn't even come up. It just didn't even come up. Yes, Tim Walz came across as friendly. He said over and over, well, I agree with what J.D. Vance is saying here, but this is why we're going to do better. If you wanted to get more people to vote for you, what you should have said is, that guy's a lying asshole, and this is why we do better. That's what Americans respond to. It's just a fact, folks. It's just a fact. Please, pretty please, Democrats, pretty please. The gains that you have made over the last several weeks have been because you're swinging, you're punching, you're kicking ass and taking names. Do that. Do that, pretty please. Because what will happen is you will get a Republican who, I promise you, was not sitting there saying, I'd really like to hear what the Democrats have to say on their policy issue of X, Y, and Z. None of the Republicans that are now not voting for Donald Trump are not voting for Donald Trump because of that. They're not voting for Donald Trump because we sat here on this together as a community and we looked at what Donald Trump said. And we looked at what he said his policies were going to be. We talked about the 2025 project. We talked about his attacks on democracy. We told everybody exactly what they were saying and that they were assholes for saying it. And we got a group of Republicans. It's going to be 10 to 15% of Republicans, folks, that will not turn out for Donald Trump. And they didn't do it because, wow, I really like that Democratic policy there. No. They turned out because we were swinging. Because when they went low, we jumped in the goddamn ditch with them, and we took the fact back to them, and we beat the shit out of them in the press. And when the press went whole in, like the New York Times running their article that J.D. Vance was amazing when they wrote the article 5 days ago, you know, folks, I want to share something with you. And I'm going to let you in on a little inside baseball that folks that follow me, you've probably seen this. You've probably seen this already. Over 100,000 on people on X, a couple 100,000 on Threads have seen it. Oh, 700,000 people on X have seen this. Little backstory behind this. I was at a meeting at the White House. And when I was at the White House, I was telling them exactly what I'm telling you. And I got to meet this guy. Let me tell you something. When I tell you that I know Doug Emhoff is a nice freaking guy, I spent a lot of time with Doug Emhoff. And you know what really got me? He wanted to know about me and my family. He was very inquisitive about me. And I was telling him about the different aspects, and I was telling him about my granddaughter. My granddaughter put up with a fuck ton of racism. She did. She went to school in a little town here. Her and her best friend were sitting at a football game. Her best friend happens to be black. My granddaughter is Hispanic. Little piece of trash stood up and called them the N-word in the middle of a football game because he didn't like the conversation they were having between each other. You know what the school did about it? Give you some idea how institutionalized the racism is here. School told her, don't upset that boy anymore. So anyways, I told Doug Emhoff about that and other stories about a teacher that used to preach politics in his class. And she would come home and say, Grandpa, can you explain this to me? My teacher is telling me that Beto O'Rourke and his family made money dealing drugs for the Mexican cartels. A teacher told her that. Told the entire class that. School didn't care. So yeah, we got her the hell out of there. Anyways, I was telling Doug Emhoff about that, and he grabs my phone. He says, here. I was showing him a picture of my granddaughter. He said, here, I want to say something to her. I want to tell her something. And this is what he told her.
Hey, Caitlin, Doug Emhoff, second gentleman. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring him. Inspire all of us. Keep at it. Thank you.
See, what I told him was that they screwed up. They didn't knock my granddaughter down. She's my granddaughter. She's a fighter. She is a fighter. You know what she took from all of that? Screw those people. Screw that school. She went out and she got 18-year-olds in her school to go register and vote. That's my baby girl. That's my baby girl. Screw with us, please. But yeah, that's Doug Emhoff. He's a great guy. He is a great guy. Now, you remember a show a while back that I did when Kamala Harris first got the nomination? I said, look, we've got to danger-proof all of this. Doug Emhoff didn't have the perfect first marriage. He didn't. He had an affair in his first marriage. I showed you what a badass his first wife was. They're friends. They are friends. Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff's first wife are friends. They worked for the kids. They did it. They did it right. They did it right. One of the October surprises is Doug Emhoff is a bad guy. He had an affair. That's why I do it, folks. A lot of people, a lot of y'all ask, why are you telling us anything about Doug Emhoff? We like that guy. Man, he had an affair way back when in his first marriage. He and his wife worked it out. They get along for the kids. They're friends. His first wife openly tells him, you know, Kamala Harris has been great for this guy. She has been a wonderful influence on him. Yeah, Mamala. There you go. And it's a great story. It's a great story. They're trying to make it something ugly. That's part of the October surprise. That's what Republicans are. And that's why, I don't know, call me a leader, whatever. I'm ahead of this shit. Always. That's why we talk about this stuff in advance. None of it will catch you flat-footed. None of it will catch you. If you come here, you stay part of this community, none of it will ever catch you flat-footed. Ever. I will do everything I can in my power to, it's sick, folks. I hate this right-wing crap. I really do. I really do. It just gets under my skin after a while, and coming and spending time with you, it's like taking a shower. You know, you come out feeling clean and feeling good, you know? But I swim in that sewer so that I can know where they're going and what they're trying to do ahead of time. And I can warn you. I can predict what their talking points are going to be. And oh my God, are they going after he had an affair? And then they're adding a bunch of lies to it. They're just, you know, they can't, like I said, every great lie has a kernel of truth. Yes, Doug Emhoff had an affair, but oh my God, the lies they're telling involved, you know, beyond it are just disgusting. You can imagine where they're going with it. Just disgusting and untrue. Ask Doug Emhoff's ex-wife. She will tell you what happened. She will tell you that they were both successful people. They both very much grew apart way before Doug Emhoff ever had an affair. Their marriage was pretty much well over. She's a badass producer. She owns a film studio. She is a badass. She had a very serious career. He was an absolutely amazing attorney with a brilliant career, and they grew very much apart. That's the story. That's the story. But then they got divorced. They said, look, we got to make this work for the kids. We can't keep beating each other up. We've got to make this work for the kids. And Kamala Harris came into the situation and said, look, I love your kids. I love Doug. These are his children. I will always love them. We have to get along and do, and they do. They made it work. What a great story, right? Of course, Republicans are trying to make it something nasty. So yeah, you're going to see that this October. The other thing that you're also seeing is the dock workers strike. I want to show you Harold Daggett. I hope the stream's been clear. I've been not pulling up all of the images. This is Harold Daggett from the dock workers. He's buddies with Donald Trump. So a union that is typically left-leaning, because, you know, we Democrats support unions, has decided right before the election, this is another one of their October surprises, has decided right before the election, they're going to shut down the docks and have a strike. This is Harold Daggett. He goes way back with Trump in New York. Harold Daggett brings home about $1 million a year from his union gig. Just sold his yacht. Yeah, this is not a dock worker you're looking at. He's been accused of having mob ties. He decided a good thing to do in October. Talk about shitting on your own union. How do you think Democrats, your average Democratic voter, your average Democratic person is going to feel when we've got this amazing freaking economy? The stock market's doing amazing things, and you go on strike to try to cripple the economy. And you make demands that can't be met. One of the demands that they're making is never modernize. Yeah, we need to modernize our ports. The ports in Europe and Asia are far ahead of ours. Our ports are so far behind, there are actually some classes of ship that a lot of our ports cannot accommodate. There are ships so large that many of our ports cannot accommodate these ships. We got a lot of modernization to do. One of their demands is that the ports not modernize. No automation at all. And the other demand they're making is a 75% pay raise. Yeah, that's not in the ballpark. That's not in the ballpark. This is something that can't be negotiated. They created a strike for their friend Donald Trump. Donald Trump killed the border bill, and Donald Trump created this strike. This is Donald Trump's strike. And right now, I'm just telling you folks, the right-wingers are running with this. I want to tell you in advance so that you know. The right-wingers are running with this. They're telling their people to make runs on toilet paper. My wife and I were at Sam's yesterday, and people were running up, loading up toilet paper. We talked to one of the workers there and like, yeah, they're saying this strike is going to be a problem and we're running short on paper products already. They intentionally created a run on things. Why? Because Donald Trump screwed up COVID. And now they want to say, we Democrats did the same thing. Oh, look, the Democrats are out of toilet paper too. See, we're not so bad. That's your October surprise. Surprise! Surprise! Because of Republicans, you're going to wipe your ass with coffee filters again. So yeah, if you're hearing my voice, if you got the ability, I'd pick you up a pack or two of toilet paper. You haven't heard that on the left because we're not retarded. Forgive me for using the R word there. I know we're not supposed to say that anymore, but I'm old and I screw up every once in a while. We're not stupid. That's why you're not hearing it on the left. But on right-wing social media, absolutely, they are telling their people, run on toilet paper. They are. They are. Well, folks, I want to talk about this. This is happening. This happened last night after the debate, after you went to bed. This is something, man. This is really something. Because it wasn't just the border bill and it isn't just the dock strike that Donald Trump is responsible for. It's also his violation of the Logan Act when he sat down with Bibi Netanyahu and took a giant crap all over our government's negotiations for peace in the Middle East. And this is Tel Aviv, Israel last night.
Okay, guys, we got to get off the roof. These are coming down right next to us here. They're coming down. One just about.
Yo,
Iran fired over 200 medium-range ballistic missiles at Israel last night. Because Israel is not Hamas, we don't have reports that 30,000 people are dead. No, we don't know how many people were hurt. There was also a coordinated terrorist attack at the same time with stabbings and shootings on trains at the exact same time. So, yeah. Iran has existed in the state of not at peace and not at war. That may have just changed. This was in response to Israel attacking Hezbollah. No one has yet been able to explain to me why the Iranians have any cause, moral justification for attacking Israel over Israel fighting with Hezbollah, other than it is a blanket admission by Iran that they are, in fact, Hezbollah. But yeah, Iran just rained 200 medium-range ballistic missiles on Israel last night. We helped interdict many of them, but a lot of them got through. And yes, there was a coordinated terror attack at the same time. We know at least 8 people were stabbed and shot to death on trains in Israel last night. So, yeah. There's going to be a response. You know, last time something like this happened, I begged, I said, Israel, please don't respond. Just don't. You've got the moral high ground. Keep it. No, that didn't happen. That's not going to happen this time either. This was an escalation that I am seeing even dovish defense bloggers, mill bloggers, former military they're saying this is going to hurt. This isn't going to be like last time, where Israel responded by hitting a few outlying military targets. They're saying targets this time will be things like Iran's nuclear power plants, critical military infrastructure, and there's even talk of killing Khamenei himself. So yeah, this is going to escalate. And I guarantee you it had everything to do with Donald Trump sitting down with Bibi Netanyahu saying, if I get elected, you do whatever you want, man. And undermining our foreign policy efforts. That's who Donald Trump is. He's like Putin. There will be chaos everywhere. It's just who he is. So yeah, we're under 40 days. This is the last week, if you're in Texas, to check your voter registration. This is Wednesday. If you don't get it done today, you may not get it done. You may not be able to vote. Check your local areas. I cannot list every jurisdiction in the country. I cannot list all 50 states. Be proactive. Know your early voting deadlines. Know your deadlines to verifying your registration. We just had Andrea here, can tell you what happened with her voter registration. She checked her voter registration in Tallahassee. They told her, you're not registered. She ended up going to her local registrar where you actually handle the registration. And they're like, yeah, you're registered. So yeah, she's chasing all that down before the deadlines hit. That's somebody that's one of our admins here, folks. She's politically active. So, yeah, be on the lookout for misinformation. Republicans will cheat. I just want to give you a heads up as to the escalation that's happening in and around Lebanon. Israel has warned the residents of all the villages from Tyre here, south, this whole region. See the point here? Okay, this is Israel. Jerusalem's down here. Haifa's up here. Lebanon, this is the border of Lebanon. All of these villages, and there's a lot of them, all of these villages, all of them. When the IDF says leave, leave. From Borgalia all the way over here to Taiba, every village south, the IDF has told the civilian population, please leave. So yeah, a ground invasion's underway. It looks like what's happening here is that Israel is going to do what they did in the Golan Heights. They're saying, look, we're done with Hezbollah. You're firing rockets into Israel. We're going to take control of this situation, and we're going to create a buffer zone in southern Lebanon. So yeah, that's what's going on today. And I promise you, it has everything to do with Donald Trump interfering with our foreign policy. Well, folks, that's what I've got for you today. Thank you. I spent a lot of time dipping through ugly, nasty, right-wing crap. I am so glad to spend time with you. Thank you very much for the support. I understand it's not easy. It's not cheap. It is rough. I mean, it is rough. And spending time with you makes it all okay. I love you, folks. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.